All right, so we're going to dive right into Canvas and start with the global navigation. So when you get logged into Canvas, if you're not on your dashboard right now, you can click on your dashboard, which is about the center of your global navigation bar right there. I'm just going to give you a little bit of an intro to what you're seeing here. No matter what type of user is logging into Canvas, you all end up on your dashboard, whether you're a student, whether you're a designer, whether you're an administrator, and you will see on your dashboard what we call course cards, one for every course that you're attached to. And no matter what your role is in those courses, they show up on your dashboard. So you could potentially see some courses there that you're a student in, which you do today. You'll see a course, you probably see an invite at the top that says you've been enrolled in the Whitewater Canvas training course. You've been enrolled in that course as a student, so once you accept the invitation to that course, you'll see that there on your dashboard. And then you probably see some other cards. Does everyone see some other cards on your dashboard? Some master, we call them master courses for you guys. You can use any one of those today as like a sandbox environment, a place to play around. So as I'm showing you how to build, feel free to pick any one of those to do your building out of. None of those are live. None of those are going to be used with students. Now, you'll see that your colors for your courses have probably different colors than mine do here. I have a sandbox course that has this, I don't know why this color shows up. This is the ugliest color in the whole scheme. So the training course has an image that goes with it, and that is something that instructors can create for their courses. If an instructor associates that image with the course, then that will show up for their students. Otherwise, every user is able to customize their own colors on their tiles. It's not just for fun. It will make a difference when we go look at the calendar later on. It's how we're going to be able to tell which items go with which course. So I just clicked on the kebab selector there, those three dots, and if you click that, you're going to see that you've got a couple of options. You can give courses nicknames. Why you might want to do that, especially once you start using live courses, is the student information system will give your courses probably a series of letters and numbers before the name. And sometimes it becomes pretty hard to tell which course is which. So every user can give a nickname to their courses in there just so they can tell them apart and know which course is which. Students really do like that. Makes it easier for them. And then you can also select any different color in there. So that's what we're looking at when we're looking at the course cards there. Now, once you start using Canvas, this begins to populate on the right-hand side of your screen. This is the to-do list. For an instructor, the things that I need to do are going to be the things that I need to grade. So this is one of the ways that I can tell what my students have handed in to me since the last time I logged into Canvas. You can see that I've got a lot of work to do there because the numbers next to each one of them is telling me how many of each. I'm really behind on that one because it's from last summer. And if I click on that, it'll take me into our grading tool, which is called the Speed Grader. For students, what they're going to see on their to-do list is anything that they haven't yet completed that's been assigned to them in their courses, up to a list of 25 things. Beneath that, there's a coming up list, so that's giving you a peek into your Canvas calendar. It's going to be any assessments or events that are starting from today and going a week out. And there's also going to be a View Grades button there where students can look at their grades. Instructors, if they click on View Grades, they can then pick which course they want to look at. Another section that will start to populate there is recent feedback. So students will always see any feedback that they got, any grades or comments that came back from their instructors since the last time they logged into Canvas. So the dashboard's really like that jumping off spot when you first get logged in. We try to put all of the pertinent information that you might need to start your day right there. There is another view here of the dashboard. I'm going to click at the top on that selector. And you can see that right now I'm on the card view. And if I switch to recent activity, I don't love leaving my dashboard this way, but sometimes I switch back and forth between the two. What I'll see there is any announcements, assignments, or discussions that have happened since the last time I logged in, just so I don't miss anything in any of my main courses. I'm going to switch back to card view, and if any of you are wondering why there's like a color overlay that's hanging out over your tile here and it's not looking nice and clear like mine, we see this a lot on Twitter from students. They're like, why does it look all cloudy? There's another checkbox right here where you can just remove that color overlay. Otherwise, it's going to look like that and it doesn't look super awesome. So there's just a little check mark in there. We get this question a lot. How do I get rid of that color overlay? Just hanging out right there. All right, from the dashboard, I'm going to talk to you about what all these buttons down here or on this left-hand side of your screen do. This is what we call the global navigation bar. We're going to go from the dashboard up to your account button. So that's the one that's at the top. So you can go ahead and click on that, and this panel will slide open where you see that there's a lot more options in there. This is where the logout button for Canvas is hiding. A lot of people don't know where that is. It's right there in your account button. I think one of the questions that we got overall from all of the different schools in your system was how long will it take for it to time me out? Like, when will it log you out? It doesn't really do that. So like if you look at my login statistics for Canvas, like I don't think I ever pressed the log out button. And it doesn't just automatically time you out, which is, I know, a lot different from other learning management systems. So the log out button's hanging out in there. From here, we're going to click on settings, and we're going to take a look at some of the options that are in there. In the settings tab, you're going to see that if you probably don't have your profile picture in there yet, but if you hover over that, ghostly image of a person, if you hover over it, you're going to see a pencil. And anytime you see pencils or gears in Canvas, it means there's more actions available. So we do recommend that all of our users put in a profile picture. So if I click on that pencil, it gives me these options for putting in a picture. I can either upload one from my computer. I can really roll the dice if I'm feeling like this is a good day and click take a picture and see what happens when I use that camera on my computer. I'm not going to click that button. And then the third option is from Gravatar, which is an avatar service, which if you use it, you might be one of the only 10 people I've ever met that does. So we do suggest that users put in a profile picture. It will show up a number of places in Canvas when you start interacting with other users. When you send them a conversation message through the inbox, when you grade something, when you post on a discussion board, a profile picture does show up. Now, I told the other group yesterday, and I'll tell you guys too, if you ever see an inappropriate picture in Canvas, you can flag it. Just hover over it, as long as it's not your own. Hover over the picture, and a little flag will pop up, and you can click on it, and flagged pictures get removed from Canvas. So until an admin takes a look at them and decides whether or not they're appropriate. So it's always good to know. Hopefully people act like adults, but it doesn't always happen. I'm going to go ahead and click Edit Settings over here. Mine's on my right-hand side. If for some reason you're not seeing this on the right-hand side, that means your screen isn't enhanced all the way, and so yours has dropped down to the bottom. That's one of the things that Canvas does, is it tries to resize itself to fit your screen. So if for some reason, every time I'm saying mine's on the right-hand side, if you don't see yours on the right-hand side, don't panic. Yours is going to be down there at the bottom of your screen. I'm going to click on Edit Settings. Now, you're not going to be able to change your name or your display name in there. Don't panic that I can and you can't. I just have special Canvas superpowers. But the reason why you can't actually makes a whole lot of sense. The setting in Canvas is users can change their display name, which means anyone could, not just like faculty or admins. And a lot of times, if someone's having a bad day, they want to change their display name to something inappropriate. So your institution has just decided that your display name is going to be your regular name. We're not going to mess with that. One of the things you can change is your language. It would just apply to you. So any of these settings that you change in here are just affecting you. They wouldn't affect your students in your courses. But any user in Canvas can decide what language they want Canvas to appear in. It's not going to translate any of the instructor-created materials, but what it would do is change any of the navigational buttons or tools inside of Canvas to match that language. I believe we currently have 26 languages in there. Don't just do it for fun. I told the group yesterday that I did it one time in a webinar. I was sure I remembered enough college German in order to get it back. And it was bad. It was really ugly. I had a very hard time. So it is great for non-native speakers of English if they need some help navigating Canvas. Now, the other thing you can do in here is change your time zone. Yours is set to the Central Time Zone because that's where your university is. But let's say, I didn't live there. I was taking a fully online course, and I wanted my due dates to line up with when the instructor had assigned them. Doesn't buy me any extra time. It's just going to say your instructor has it due, at this time Central. For you, that means this. So, some students might think, oh, good, that's how I'm going to change my time zone. I'm going to get some extra time to turn it in. That's not how it happens, but at the bottom of this page, you're going to see that there are some feature options. These are just a few of the accessibility options in Canvas, and I'll point out these two. The first one is a high contrast UI, which is really good for low vision if they're using Canvas. So it's going to enhance the color contrast. It won't necessarily then match up to your institution branding that you're seeing now. Those colors might change a little bit, but that's something that can be enabled by each individual user. The other one everyone seems to like is underline links. So every time there's a hyperlink, it just puts a little line under it. So both of those settings are right there. And all you need to do to turn them on is switch that slider to the right. And then obviously if you don't like it anymore, you can switch that over to the left. I'm going to scroll back up here to the top, and we're going to talk about this ways to contact. You guys see right now your institution email address in there. That's how every account is going to be set up here for the University of Wisconsin system, and you're not going to be able to delete that one. We're going to retain that one way for you to get your Canvas notifications. Ways to contact in here, no one else sees them. This is just how you can get your Canvas notifications. So you're going to see that I have my work email address, and another way that I have that I can be contacted, that I can get my Canvas notifications, is I've enabled my cell phone so I can get text notifications. Students really do like that. I think probably most of them enable their cell phones so they can get their notifications by text. Again, no one else sees this. This isn't published anywhere, and I have to a lot of times reassure, especially teachers of high school kids, you can put that in there. This doesn't get shown to your students. They're not going to get your cell phone number. I'm going to show you what those notifications are, and then you can decide if you want to enable another way to be contacted. So from settings, I'm going to navigate up there to notifications. So this is a really long list, and I fully understand that until you start using Canvas, you will not know what notification preferences you want to set. But I do need to tell you that these are all of the things that, as they happen in Canvas, a user can get notified about. What you're seeing on your screen right now is different than mine. I have disabled most of my notifications. I can tell that because the X is highlighted in green, which means I've turned those off. I don't get notifications if those things happen inside of Canvas. You are seeing the default set of notifications. I believe the default set of notifications works great for students. I don't think it's a great default necessarily for instructors. So every user in Canvas sets their own notifications. The ones that you set as an instructor do not filter down to your students. Does that mean that students can turn all of them off? Yes. Do some students turn all of them off? Yeah. And then they miss probably some really important information, right? Like if you changed a due date and they were up studying all night and then you decided you were moving the test 2 days. Or they turned off their announcement notifications and they didn't know that you were canceling class, right? Go ahead.
So when you set this up, does this apply to all of your courses?
Yes, it applies to all of your courses. It's a global setting for all of your courses. There are a lot of them. If you hover over each one of them, it tells you what you're going to get, what information are you going to get in there. A lot of them under course activities, for example, really just apply to students, right? You're not going to get a notification when you change a due date, but your students could in one of your courses. You see under grading, there's one in there for you that I use as an instructor, which is late grading. I really liked that one. It would send me a notification when students turned in something late. I had that one set to notify me right away, which is the check mark there. So I could, make sure I didn't miss it, and then I would normally reach out to them and say, why are you turning in things late? I also enabled a second email address. When I'm teaching courses, I usually have my personal email address in there as well. So for late grading, I get those sent to me right away, and then to this email address. And to my second email address, I also get a weekly summary, which is the calendar, because I want to see all of my students in one place who turned something in late. So for every notification pathway that you set up, you can customize when you get them. If they're coming to your email, you get to say whether you want to get that as soon as it happens. That's the check mark. A daily summary, I find those come in the early evening. That's the clock. So it would be, all of those changes rolled up in one notification. And then you can also choose the calendar, which is a weekly summary. For you guys in the server that you're on, yours come on Saturday nights. Who wants to get an email about that on Saturday night? But that's just when it comes. And then if you decide that that's not something that you need to be notified about because you're in Canvas and you're working, or it's just not something you need to know, you can click the X and turn it off. If you decide to enable some of your notifications to come by cell as a text, Canvas pays for them. That's not something that you need to pay for. That's a service that we provide. And then those are either you get it or you don't. There's not a time period. So you would be notified every time that thing happens. Now, anyone who downloads any of our apps will also get another column in there that'll say push. So you can decide whether or not you want that notification to be pushed to the app as well. I'll point out one that instructors I always recommend don't have to get sent to them right away, which is discussion post. Okay, because if students get into a really heated post on discussions, you don't necessarily want to get an email or a text message every time some student hits reply. The one that you're going to see I do have on is in this category of conversations. Conversations are talking about the Canvas inbox. That's our internal messaging system. So I do get a copy of those sent to my email address when I'm either added to a conversation or when someone sends me a conversation message. So like I said, right now, probably don't know, you won't know till you start using Canvas what works well for you. This is always something you can come back and change or customize. There's not a save button on this page. It's as easy as soon as you click on it and whatever has the green background, that's going to be what's enabled. Any other questions about notifications? So I'm going to go back to the settings page to just show you that if you do decide to enable another way to be contacted, and you have Verizon like I do, and you're waiting for, it'll say it's sending you some code that you need to put in, you're never going to get it. Verizon doesn't actually send it. Your number will still get connected. I just think it's important to point that out because we had some people yesterday who were waiting and waiting. It will eventually get connected, but if you do have Verizon and you're trying to set up your cell phone, you're not going to get a code. Okay.